Analyzing and exploring Darth Vader's mindset during Return of the Jedi is an aspect of Star Wars lore that I am fascinated by, and our answers are revealed to us through several comics as well as the novelizations of the films. And Vader's mindset is interesting indeed, from the shock that Darth Vader saw that Luke Skywalker's lightsaber was now emerald instead of the traditional blue, to the very moment where Luke Skywalker realizes that he's going down the same path of his father. However, Darth Vader has two very clear thoughts during the final confrontation with Luke, thoughts about previous enemies and previous battles long since past. During his final confrontation with his son on the second Death Star, Darth Vader was thinking about Dooku, and thinking about his final battle with the Sith Lord, how much Dooku had taught him, and where exactly Dooku had failed. Greetings again, Acolytes of the Force, and welcome back to our expansive archives. We've been expecting you. For today's Holocron opening, we are speaking all about Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi, exactly why he was thinking about the duel between Mace Windu and Darth Sidious, and his own duel with Dooku. These were the duels that defined Darth Vader. These were the duels that created him, in fact. What's interesting about the novelization for Return of the Jedi is Darth Vader thinks back to his duel on the Invisible Hand with Dooku, not once, but actually twice. The first time he's thinking about it, he's in the presence of his master moments before he's set to face his son in single combat. And the second time is during the conflict and the fight itself. And this is the moment where Darth Vader has a terrible realization, and is a perfect learning moment for the Sith Lord. He realizes where Dooku failed, and he realizes the battlefield that now lay before him, the plan of his master. And unlike Dooku, Vader is contemplating what to do, contemplating a different outcome. Dooku was caught completely off guard by Darth Sidious and could not see the manipulations of the battle going into it. Dooku realized that Anakin Skywalker was always going to be turned to the dark side, but Dooku also expected to be there as a fully formed Sith Lord himself, to even train the young Anakin Skywalker to be the general of a Sith army. Dooku did not see a vision in which he was not involved, but his master of course did. This is why, the moment Darth Sidious lands on the second Death Star, any suspicions that Vader had before are all but confirmed. He is analyzing his master's every single move, just as Sidious is analyzing Vader and his mindset. Sidious surmised that Vader was going to continue looking for Luke, but then something else strange happened. Darth Sidious begins to praise Luke to Darth Vader, the same way that Vader had realized that he likely did with Dooku as well concerning Anakin. He even demanded that the boy be turned with the might of two Sith Lords, believing that their combined power, or at least that's what he would tell Vader, would be enough to turn Luke. Vader, though, believed that he could turn Luke on his own, and the fact that Darth Sidious wanted to be there chilled Darth Vader to his very core. Sidious was fascinated with Luke's power, the ability to train a chosen one that he never had, as Anakin burned away on Mustafar. But now, there was a brand new Skywalker, and one that could potentially prove to be even more powerful. He realized that just as Dooku had been ordered to bring Anakin directly before him and then engaged in a duel, Vader was ordered to bring Luke before the Emperor as well. Darth Vader also realized the great and grand pattern, realizing that the first time that Anakin truly took an order from Darth Sidious was when he told him to kill Dooku. And from this moment on, Anakin Skywalker began to turn. But more than this, Anakin shackled himself to Palpatine, just as Darth Sidious had created a test for Anakin, a test wherein he compromised his morals for a brief second in the name of revenge. That it was again Darth Sidious's plan to do the exact same thing with Luke, and he believed that Vader would go along with it, just as Dooku had. In fact, Sidious actually didn't hide this from Darth Vader. Decades earlier, just following Anakin Skywalker's cybernetic reconstruction, Sidious confirms that if Dooku had bested Anakin on the Invisible Hand, Dooku would have been the apprentice, and Sidious would have cast the Skywalker aside. Dooku believed that this was a test just as much for himself as it was for Anakin, and that if he proved himself worthy, Anakin and Dooku would have been appointed as Sith Lords jointly and been equals to Sidious. This is what Dooku believed, but this is not what Vader was thinking. Vader knew that there was only ever going to be one apprentice at Sidious's side. It was either going to continue to be himself, if Luke Skywalker refused to turn, or if Vader bested him, or Luke would fall to the dark side, kill his father, and assume his mantle as a Sith apprentice. But again, these are Darth Vader's thoughts before the duel itself commences. But what are Vader's thoughts during it? Why again does he think of Dooku, his old teacher in a way. In the novel The Rise and Fall of Darth Vader has a shocking moment where he realizes that Darth Sidious is showing the same emotions that he did decades earlier. The moment comes when Vader and Luke clash blades, and Sidious begins to cackle with joy. Very rarely did Darth Vader ever hear joy in his master's tone, but this tone quickly shot him back to the invisible hand, and he was Anakin again, holding the twin blades to Dooku's throat. At this moment in time again, he would hear the cackle. Vader realized here now that just as Darth Sidious desired Anakin Skywalker to turn, he wanted Luke above Vader. This enraged Vader, but also something peculiar happened in this moment. Darth Vader believed that the Force itself had deemed him the victor in the last duel, and the defining duel of the galaxy between Anakin and Dooku, and Vader believed that he could do it again. In this moment, Vader would have struck down Luke if the opening arose, desiring still to prove himself and showing that up until the very final moments of his life, Darth Vader was Sidious's pet and his slave. In this very moment, Darth Vader is willing and ready to strike down Luke to prove his superiority and to rob his master of this prize. And as he turns to engage the fight with newfound rage and strength in the dark side, he looks up and sees his son standing by the Emperor. But Luke does something shocking here and incredibly important. Luke Skywalker deactivates his lightsaber. Unlike Anakin, who gave into hatred and revenge and decapitated the Sith Lord in his mind righteously, Luke was willing to forgive Vader. And this is the moment where he decides to rob his master of his ultimate prize in a different way, by turning away from the Sith, by turning away from the dark side itself, robbing the master of his prize in a way that also saves his son. These small moments throughout the duel changing the way that Darth Vader thinks and his very perspective on the Force, on his master Sidious, and the future of the very galaxy itself. But anyway, my friends and fellow acolytes of the Force, what are your thoughts on this? And what are your thoughts on the in-depth feelings of Darth Vader during his duel with Luke Skywalker? What are your thoughts on Vader's retrospective of his duels with Dooku? And what do you think would have happened if Darth Vader gave into his fury and cut down his son? As always, my friends and fellow acolytes of the Force, thank you so much for visiting our archives yet again. May the Force be with you, and I hope that you have a great day.